All right, so you're here because you want to know which bike under $400 is going to be the best bang for your buck. And that's why I made this video. Okay, so let's imagine you're sitting here, you're on Dan's Comp, you're looking for a bike, and you're like, I only got $400 on this card here. Which bike can I get? Let's figure it out.
The Dougsterbob mission, growing BMX by making it fun and easy to understand. For some of us, it's an escape. For others, it's a passion. But for all of us, it's a lifestyle. You're gonna love this sport. I'm glad you're letting me teach you everything that I know about it.
All right, so my name's Douglas. I run Dougsterbob.com, and my mission is to get 1 million people into the sport. Part of that mission is helping them figure out which bike is going to be best for them. And so that's why I create a ton of different kinds of content to help make your bike buying process a little bit easier. Now, here's the thing. The best bike in this tournament might not be the best bike for you. There's so many different things that go into finding the right bike, like your height, your skill level. Do you like to ride street, park, dirt? Like, what do you want to get out of BMX? And so if you want to figure that out, the best one for you based on all those factors, I have a free bike recommendation. The link's in the description. All you do is fill out this form. I look over that information and I send you back a PDF with 3 bikes that I think are perfect for you. One of the bikes from this tournament might be on there. It might not be, okay? And then the last thing I want to say on this tournament before we jump into it is that, to be honest, there's a lot of weird bikes in here. And what I mean by weird is they're not traditional. Like, some of them aren't traditional brand names. Some of the bikes under $400 are awful quality. And if you spend just a little bit more and get in that $500 to $600 price range, you can get a much better bike with a much better value factor score. Okay. So I just want to stress that to you. If you have the money, watch the $500 to $600 tournament. Like, by all means, I'm cool with you watching this and making me ad revenue. That's just fine. But you'll have much better use of your time watching the $500 to $600 video, because it's just the bikes in there are going to be a little bit better. Now, I found 1 or 2 bikes in here that I'd consider a sleeper. And you know, like how you have a junky looking car that turns out it's really freaking fast. There's some bikes like that. They kind of are off the radar, but after doing some analysis, we found out that these bikes are actually really good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop it up on screen and we're going to talk about the bikes in the tournament, how they scored and how the scores work, and then some rules about the tournament. So let's pop it up on screen. Okay, so this is the under $400 BMX bike showdown. And the rules are pretty simple. The bikes are added to the tournament bracket at random. The specs are compared side to side so we can see very easily which one has better specs. And the bikes are scored and overall score is compared. So we look at their value factor score. This is a really big thing for me. It's a part of the Dougsterbob score sheet, which analyzes a bunch of different factors on over 80 different bikes. The link to download that for free is in the description also. But I came up with the value factor score, and this puts a score for how good of a value, how good the value of the bike is. And this is really important to making your buying decision because you want to get the best bang for your buck. And then, like I said, multiple aspects go into deciding which bike is better. We're going to look at a lot of different things, so let's get to it. We've got the 2022 Colt Access, we've got the Jet Generate, the Jet Block, the Haro Luecedia, the DK Cygnus, the Redline Rival, the GT Air, the Free Agent Novus, the GT Slammer, the Verde AV, the Subrosa Altus, and the Kink Curb. Okay. And like I said, this tournament bracket was generated at random, so the tournament could potentially have gone a different direction if the bikes were in different spots. So if you want to see a specific side-to-side comparison, leave that in the comments and I'll make a specific video. I'll shout you out in the video and do that comparison, okay? But for now, these are going to be the comparisons in this overall tournament. The Colt Access has a free pass up here and the Kink Curb has a free pass. The GT Air and the Redline Rival have a free pass. Jumping right into it, it's going to be the jet generate versus the jet block, but we need to talk about how these points work. Like I said, we'll compare these side to side. Okay, we're going to look at the weight, the frame quality, the bar quality, the fork quality, the rim quality, the number of aftermarket parts that it has, the size options, because variation is a really cool thing, color options, again, because variation, quality score, how high did they score in the quality section of the Dougsterbob score sheet, the value factor, the utility factor, which basically means if this bike is specific for street riding or park riding or dirt riding, in my opinion, it's better because it has some sort of specific utility. And then, is it a core BMX brand? I'm really big on supporting core brands. I think it's important to support brands that support BMX. And so if they are a core BMX brand, they're going to get a bonus point. So the first bikes we got, the Jet Generate versus the Jet Block. Neither of these bikes are core BMX bikes, and it's pretty sad that they're not core, but look, which one do you guys think looks cooler? You think the Generate looks cooler with this sleek black design, or the Jet Block with this flashy white and camo? When we put the bikes side by side, the Jet Generate is $349, while the Jet Block is $349. Now it's currently on sale for $299, but that price can change. So $349 for both of these bikes. Neither one is going to win. Now the Generate weighs 25.54 pounds and the Jet Block weighs 25.4. So literally a tenth of a pound lighter. So the Jet Block did win, but it's not by very much. They both only come in one size option. The Jet Generate comes in 2 size options, while the Block comes in 10. It has like a million different size or color options with different tire colors and frame colors. It's really interesting. Anyway, it has a ton of color options, so it's going to get that point. So currently the Jet Block has 2 points and the Jet Generate only has 1. Like I mentioned, neither of these bikes are core BMX brands, and they don't have a utility factor. They're designed for brand new riders who just need a bike, an affordable bike to get on, get into the sport and start riding, start testing things out. Now, these specs here is where it really comes down to it. The frame quality for both these bikes is weaker high tensile steel. This is the lower quality option for bikes and material, so it's going to bend and break over time. If you're a lighter rider, don't really worry about this because it's not the end of the world. The fork quality is the same, high tensile steel, bar quality, high tensile steel, and the rims are single wall rim. If you're serious about BMX, you want to get a double wall rim because they're going to hold up a lot better to big drops and big gaps. Neither of these bikes have that double wall rim, so nobody won the points there. And in terms of aftermarket parts, nobody had any aftermarket parts. Things start to vary a little bit because the Jet Generate is slightly, and I mean slightly, just barely better quality. And I think it came down to just like one bearing on the Generate was sealed and one bearing on the Jet Block was left unsealed. So just a teeny tiny bit more quality, and the Jet Generate ended up winning the quality section. So that's 1 point for the Generate and 2 points for the Block. And then when we look at the value factor, because of that sale $299 price tag, the Jet Block is going to be the better value bike. It scored a 4.68 while the Generate only scored a 4. So the Jet Block is slightly better. And so that puts the Jet Generate at 1 point while the Jet Block has 3 points. And so obviously the Jet Block is going to be the winner here because it's got more color options, it's a little bit lighter, and it's got a better value factor if you get it for that $299 price tag. The Jet Generate has slightly better quality, but that's not enough to win. Generate is going to be kicked out of the bracket. The Jet Block moves on and will be facing the Colt Access a little bit later on here. All right, moving along, the Haro Luecedia is going to face off against the DK Cygnus. Redline's an interest. These are all weird bikes, right? My first bike was a DK Reaction, and many things have changed since then. The Haro Luecedia is a weird bike. The Redline Rival is a weird bike. These are just not like, they're not your common Kink, Colt, Fit, We the People. Like, they're odd bikes. And so which one do you think is going to win? We've got the Haro Luecedia and the DK Cygnus. Personally, the DK Cygnus looks a lot better. This railed seat on the Haro looks dinky, and I'm really not a fan of the color. You could see the pressed bottom bracket right away, which is a little iffy. So, place your bets right now, but let's get right into it. So the Haro Luecedia is $379 to $399. The DK Cygnus is $399 to $499. Arguably, if we go off of this $499 price tag, it should be in a whole different bracket. But since you're able to get it for $399 right now, this put it in this bracket. And with that being said, I feel like it's totally going to dominate. Like, if I'm going to put all the money on this Best Buy credit card, that the DK Cygnus is going to win. I better be right because I made it. I can't remember, but the fact that it's a $500 bike going against these other bikes because of that sale price, which means this is an incredible price. So if you guys want to buy it, you better buy it for this sale price. It's a solid bike, and it was one that I was really surprised by. So price there. Price doesn't get a point. The lower price or the higher price, nobody gets a point there, but they do for their weight. And technically the Haro is 0.4 pounds lighter than the DK. So the Haro is going to take it away right here and win a point. They both only come in one size option. They come in 3 color options. They're both technically core BMX brands. I gave it to Haro because they sponsored Dennis and Chad, and DK sponsors a good amount of pro level riders. So they do put money back into BMX, which is amazing. And neither of them have a specific value. Neither of them are designed for park, street, or dirt. They're both just general BMX bikes that you can upgrade or tweak to be better for a specific type of riding. Now, the serious specs, the frame quality on the Haro is only that weak high tensile steel. This is not very good. It's not going to hold up as you progress. But the DK Cygnus is tri-moly. What that means is this front triangle right here is full chrome moly, while this back triangle is high tensile steel. For a bike, $500, I'd expect to see something closer to full chromoly. But when you consider the $399 sale price, that's about adequate. Getting a tri-moly frame is pretty solid for that price. And so it's going to get the point there. Forks, the steer tube of the DK Cygnus is chromoly. The forks are high tensile steel. In the Haro, the whole fork is high tensile steel, so it's not very good. It's gonna bend when you case jumps. The Cygnus is still gonna bend. Honestly, the forks are still gonna bend, but having a chromoly steer tube is a little bit stronger than full high tensile steel. Now the bar quality. The DK Cygnus has full chromoly handlebars, while the Haro only has high tensile steel. So that's going to be 3 points for the DK and only 1 point for the Haro. Moving along, both of these bikes are single wall rims, and the quality scores vary quite a bit. The Haro scored a 0.8 for the quality score, while the DK Cygnus scored a 3.4. Obviously, the DK is going to be way higher quality than the Haro. It shouldn't even be a competition. The value factor is also off the charts for the DK. It's an 8.52, while it's only a 2.1 for the Haro. So with all that being said, the only thing that the Haro outperformed the DK in is that it was a little teeny tiny bit lighter. Not much. And the DK Cygnus has better quality frame, forks, and bars, higher quality score, and higher value factor. This is a much better bike, and it's obviously going to be the winner here. All right, so the Haro is going to move along to the loser corner. It is eliminated. It's sitting next to the Jet Generate. They're both kind of having a bad day, but the DK Cygnus is moving on to go off against the 2021 Redline rival. And with what we just saw, the Cygnus absolutely destroyed the Haro, and I have a feeling it's going to absolutely destroy the Redline, but we're going to have to wait and see. Next, we're going to be talking about the free agent Novus and the 2021 GT Slammer. Again, very weird bikes. Like, I had not heard of any of these bikes until I started comparing them. All right, so the free agent Novus looks pretty interesting, and so does the GT Slammer. One thing personally that I absolutely hate is how the pictures are with the cranks facing straight down. I don't know why I hate that, but I just do. I just hate it so much. I feel like the crank should be going out this direction, but what can you do? You know, it's like, I'm not their photographer, but this drives me crazy. Anyway, let's put them side by side and let's see which one is best. In terms of price, the free agent Novus costs $369, while the GT Slammer ranges between $331 all the way up to $389. Weight, free agent did not list the weight of the Novus, but the GT Slammer weighs 26.5 pounds. Technically, I could give the point to the Slammer, but I didn't because it didn't even need this point. If it was a deciding factor, I would have gave it the point for sure. The size options, they both only come in one option. The Novus comes in 3 color options, while the Slammer comes in 4. Now keep in mind, the Slammer has this dinky railed seat, while this one looks like the Novus is a combo, which is pretty cool, but it doesn't really affect anything, you know, color option wise. They're both technically core BMX brands. Again, these bikes are weird, but GT sponsors some big name riders and puts money back into BMX, and so does Free Agent. I'm not impressed with either of their complete bikes, but that's okay, you know, that's beside the point. And neither of them have a utility factor because they're not specific for park, dirt, or street. Even though the Slammer has this gyro, it's not going to get any bonus points for park specificity because it's just like Walmart bikes have a gyro, and that's why this has a gyro. It's not because it's park specific at all. It's because it's just a gyro. It's just nothing specific there. All right, and moving along, this is going to go quick because they're both about the same quality. Nothing very special here. The Slammer and the Novus have high tensile steel frame, high tensile steel forks, high tensile steel bars. High tensile steel is the lower quality option. It's not as good as chromoly. It's not even close. Now, keep in mind that where high tensile steel runs into an issue is when somebody like me that's 215 pounds gets on this bike. I saw a comment on one of my videos and the guy said, I'd break that like a Kit Kat. And that's true. I would break that bike like a Kit Kat because it's not built for people my size. If you're a smaller rider, you weigh less than 170 pounds, the high tensile steel is not going to be the end of the world until you start doing pretty big jumps and big tricks. So keep that in mind, okay, because this is about par for the course. Most bikes in this price range are going to be high tensile steel, and it's not the end of the world. I know I make it out to be the end of the world, but if you're a lightweight person, it's not the end of the world, okay? Now, both these bikes, single wall rims, again, not as good as double wall rims, so there's an issue, but they're both the single walls, so neither of them scored a point. Quality, they're both about the same. There's not too many quality differences here, but the value factor is a little bit better on the Slammer because of that lower price point. So the GT Slammer is gonna walk away with the 2 points here, and the Novus loses. So I'm sorry, Free Agent, Daniel Sandoval, Caden Stone, Jacob Thiem. I'm sorry. GT, Slammer, BK, and anyone else they sponsor. Good job. Good job, GT. Moving right along the bracket. But look, it has more color options and it has a better value factor. And again, that value factor is only when you're looking at the lower price. But the GT won. Okay. The GT moved along and now it's going to face off against the GT Air. And this is interesting. GT Air versus GT Slammer. How is that going to go? We've got some weird bikes moving along the bracket, but the Free Agent Novus goes over here to the loser corner to sit down with the Haro, Luecedia, and the Jet Generate. Next, we're going to be looking at the Verde AV and the Subrosa Altus. I'm very excited by this one because this Verde bike was a sleeper. This one did very well. And I'm not going to tell you if it won, but it was a sleeper and it did very well, okay? So let's move into that. All right, so the Verde AV and the Subrosa Altus. Personally, the Verde AV, this picture angle, like this is really nitpicky. I don't like the cranks pointing down again, but it's not fully down. It's not at 6 o'clock. But this picture angle is really nice. Like their photographer did a good job. This one, it's just, I don't know, it's almost a side shot, but it's not quite. And it's kind of annoying. I wish it was this way a little bit more. Like just rotate it just a teeny tiny bit, Subrosa, please. This bright red looks good. This looks boring, but it's nice and clean. The Subrosa looks very clean, not gonna lie. So let's get right into it. The Verde AV is $399, while the Subrosa Altus is $360. Subrosa's bike is a little bit cheaper. When we look at weight, the Verde weighs significantly less at 24.5 pounds, while the Subrosa weighs 26.2 pounds. They both come in one size option, but the Verde comes in 3 different color options, while the Subrosa only comes in 2. They're both technically core BMX brands. Verde they just sponsored Trey Bikes. Shout out Trey. Good job, Trey. I'm proud of you, man. And so does Subrosa, does a whole bunch with BMX, but neither of them are specific for park, dirt, or street. They're not. There's no utility factor there. So just based off this, the Verde is going to have 2 points and the Subrosa is going to have 0. Now again, keep in mind the Subrosa is about $39 cheaper, which could help it out when we're considering the value factor, but let's see which bikes are better quality. Okay, a little disappointing here. They're all high tensile steel frame forks and bars. Verde, high tensile steel frame forks and bars. Subrosa, high tensile steel frame forks and bars. Like I ranted about, this is the lower quality option. We want chromoly, but in this price range, you really can't get that very often. You can get a little bit, maybe some tri-moly sometimes, very rarely, but they're high tensile steel. So keep that in mind. If you're heavy, you're gonna break it. If you're light, it's gonna be okay. Single wall rims. We've yet to find a bike in here with double wall rims, and that hurts me a little bit. But again, if you're light, you're brand new to the sport, the single wall rims aren't going to be an issue for you. But one thing, this is one of the first bikes to have aftermarket parts. Subrosa stacked up with some ramp parts and some Subrosa parts on there, and it gives it some extra points. So the Subrosa now has 1 point. But when we go and look at the quality, the Subrosa has a 1.5, while the Verde has a 1.8. So the Verde's going to get a point there. And even though the Subrosa is a little bit cheaper, the Verde has some better value factor. It's a 4.88 versus 4.17. So overall, the Verde's going to walk away with 4 points, while the Subrosa only has 1. The Verde's lighter. It has more color options. It has better quality, sealed bearings all around, and it has that higher value factor. The Subrosa Altus has more aftermarket parts than the Verde, and it's also a little bit cheaper, but that wasn't enough to win. The Verde, in my opinion, is going to be a much better value bike than the Subrosa. Okay, so sadly the Subrosa is going to move on into the loser corner with the Jet Generate, the Haro Luecedia, the free agent Novus, and they're going to be sad. But the Verde AV is moving on to face off against the Kink Curb. I like Kink. I like Kink bikes, and I hope the Kink Curb wins, but we're going to have to see. That is 4 videos from now, so we're going to see how the Verde does. Now, let's move on, and let's see how the Colt Access does against the Jet Block. All right, so the Colt Access and the Jet Block. Right off the bat, look at this goofy looking Jet Block. I don't know how I feel about this. Just kidding. One of the 10 colors, I think the Jet Block generally looks pretty solid. The Colt Access is basic. It only comes in 3 different colors, but it looks clean. It looks sleek. There's no flashy purple colors. So that's cool, I guess. Unless you like flashy purple colors, then the Jet Block looks better. I don't know. Moving along to things that actually matter. The price of the Colt Access is $359, while the Jet Block is only $299, all the way up to $349. Colt does not list the weight for the Access, which kind of drives me crazy because I feel like you guys should know how much the bike you're buying weighs. I think that's a really important thing, and Colt doesn't list it. So we can safely assume it's around 25 pounds, but since we don't know the specificity of it, I'm not going to put it on there and give either one a point. Now, if it came down to a tiebreaker, we'd give the Jet Block the point because they do have this weight listed. They both only come in one size option, but the Jet Block comes in a lot more color options. Has all kinds of different colors, while the Colt Access, I know I said 3 earlier, I meant 2. It only comes in black and it comes in raw. But Colt is a core BMX brand, so they do a lot for the sport, while Jet just sucks money from the sport. And this really makes me kind of angry. I know I don't look angry, but I am very angry right now that Jet doesn't do anything for the sport. Neither of them have a specific utility. Neither of them are park specific, dirt specific, street specific. So neither of them are going to get a point right there. Now, right now, the score is going to be 1-1. The Colt Access has 1 point, the Jet Block has 1 point, and we need to just move on and see, let's talk about the important things, about the specs and the quality and all that good stuff. And there's really nothing to see here. The frame on both these bikes is high tensile steel. The forks, also high tensile steel. The bars, also high tensile steel. Consider this when you're making your purchase. If you're a lighter rider, the high tensile steel is going to be just fine. If you're kind of heavy, you're going to break it. You're going to snap it like a Kit Kat, not a Tic Tac, a Kit Kat. You're going to snap it like a Kit Kat. And that's important to think about if you're a certain level of riding. Now, they're both also low quality single wall rims. So nobody's going to get a point in terms of frame, fork, bar, rim quality. Nobody gets a point there. And neither of these bikes come with aftermarket parts, which I thought was very surprising that Colt didn't include any of their aftermarket parts on this bike, not even the Colt Salvation stem. But Jet doesn't have any aftermarket parts to include, so nobody gets a point there. The Jet Block is slightly better quality than the Colt Access, so it is going to get a point, and the value factor for the Jet Block is going to be better than the Colt Access. So inherently, the Jet Block is going to move along because there's more color options, it's lighter, and it's a better value bike. If you're deciding between these two bikes, I do want you to heavily consider the fact that the Colt Access is a core BMX brand. Well, I mean, it's a bike, but Colt is a core BMX brand, and they put a lot into the sport. They sponsor those riders. When you buy a Colt, that money goes back into the BMX economy, which keeps the dream alive. When you buy a Jet bike, that money goes to fund somebody's, I don't know, hair treatment, like his bald hair treatment. I don't know. That money goes somewhere else that's not the BMX community. So that should mean something to you, and you should consider the Colt Access. Like, it should be weighted a little more heavily, but the Jet Block won. Like, that's all there is to it. So the Jet Block is going to move along while the Colt Access is going to sit over next to the Subrosa Altus in the loser corner. Now, the Jet Block is going to either face off against the DK Cygnus or the Redline Revival, depending on who wins the next match. So let's get right into that. All right, so the DK Cygnus and the Redline Rival. Look at these two bikes. Again, I'm very impressed with Redline's photography. I think this looks good. They got their cranks lined up, which looks amazing. This doesn't look so good, DK. You need to level those cranks out. And they're really high seat. Like, come on, guys. You gotta just make the bike look a little bit cool, you know? Just kidding. High seats aren't necessarily, like, there's nothing wrong with high seats. Okay, let's get into the stuff that matters. The DK Cygnus is $399 or $499. So currently it's on sale for $399, and that's the only reason it's in this bracket. The Redline Rival is $370, so it's quite a bit cheaper than the DK, and they both weigh the same. They both weigh 26.4 pounds. They only come in one size option, but the DK comes in 3 different color options, while the Redline Rival only comes in 2. I gave DK a point for the color option, but I also gave it a point for the fact that DK is a core BMX brand, and in my opinion, Redline is not. They don't sponsor a BMX team like freestyle, I guess. They sponsor racing, which is arguably different. And they don't do a whole lot for the sport. So DK did get an extra point because of that. Now, neither of them are specifically designed for park, street, or dirt, so nobody got a point there. Currently, the DK has 2 points and the Redline has 0. I was surprised that they weighed the same. Customizability or options. Options are so important. Size options, color options. Like, you guys should have options when you're buying your bike. The really in-depth stuff is the quality. The DK Cygnus has tri-moly frame. Okay, this means this front triangle is chromoly while the back triangle is high tensile steel. But on the Redline, this whole bike is high tensile steel, this whole frame. And this is a little bit disappointing because, well, the Cygnus is going to outlasts the Redline rival, no questions. The forks on the Cygnus have a little bit of chromoly. This steer tube is chromoly while the legs are high tensile steel and the bars are chromoly. So it just scored 3 points right there. Bang, bang, bang. The Redline rival is only high tensile steel on all of those things, okay? Sadly, neither of these bikes have double wall rims, and neither of these bikes have aftermarket parts. But where the DK Cygnus scores even more points is the fact that it has a 3.4 quality score and an 8.5 value factor. The rival is only a 0.8 quality and a 2.1 value. So obviously, the Redline is a lower quality bike. Obviously, it's a cheaper bike, so that's just how it goes. You know, the Cygnus costs a little bit more, but when you look at the value, when you look at this level of quality that DK provides for that price, though it be a little bit higher than the rival, it's a much better choice to spend your money on the DK over the Redline. So that means that the DK wins. It has way more points. It has more color options. It's a core BMX brand. It's got better quality frame forks and bars, higher quality score, higher value factor, and the Redline rival, sad face. That's all I could put there. It's just a sad face. Like, it severely disappointed me. It didn't score a point at all. Like, there was no aspect of the rival that was better than the DK. And this is really rare to see in these comparisons because usually one has more color options, one has more size options, but that didn't happen here. That did not happen here. So anyway, the DK is going to be moving along to face against the Jet Block. I think I know who's going to win, but we'll see. We'll see. And the Redline rival goes next to the Colt Access in the loser pile. It's a growing list over there, these losers. We got the Jet Generate, the Haro Luecedia, the Free Agent Novus, the Subrosa Altus, the Colt Access, and the Redline rival. Very disappointing over there for those losers. But let's talk about the GT Air and the GT Slammer next. All right, now when we throw these bikes side to side, the GT Air I think looks a little bit cooler than the GT Slammer. Again, I hate these down cranks. I hate it so much. Just put them level. You don't ride your bike like that. Why? Drives me crazy. The Slammer, we can see this gyro here. We can see the railed seats on both of them. This has this dinky top cap, compression cap here, but this is all just looks. You know, we got the hooks and the forks and all that good stuff. But let's talk about the stuff that matters. The price of these bikes. The GT Air is $349, while the Slammer is anywhere from $331 on sale up to $389. The GT Air weighs less at 26.2 pounds. They both only come in one size option, but the GT Slammer comes in 4 different color options. That's right, 4. The GT Air only comes in 2. But I do like this yellow color of the GT Air, but that's beside the point. They're both technically core BMX brands. They do a lot for BMX. They support BMX, and neither of them have a utility factor. Even though the Slammer has this gyro, I will not give it special points for park because look, like I said earlier, Walmart bikes have a gyro. So this doesn't mean anything to me. This just means like dinky. Dinky is the best word I can think of. Nothing against these bikes, but these are just for brand new riders, okay? Brand new riders, and there's better bikes that you could buy with your money. We'll find out at the end of the tournament which ones that is, but currently the GT Air, the lower priced bike, is winning because it weighs a teeny tiny bit more than the Slammer. But when we look at the quality, well, not much changes. The frame, forks, and bars for both of these bikes are high tensile steel. They both come with single wall rims. High tensile steel is going to come on these cheaper bikes no matter what. So if you're a heavier guy, you've got to get a more expensive bike than these, okay? These are not going to last for you. The single wall rims are going to be terrible for you. They're just not good quality. Now, kid's first bike for Christmas, all right, cool. They got a BMX bike, solid, but an adult's first bike for Christmas, no bueno, okay? No good. Now, neither of these bikes have aftermarket parts, and they have the same quality score. However, when we take the GT Slammer's lower price point, it gets a slightly better value factor. Just a teeny tiny bit, not a whole lot, but it is going to be a little bit better in the value factor because it got a 3.02 while the Air only got a 2.2. So with that being said, the GT Slammer is going to be the winner because it has more color options and it has a better value factor. The GT Air is a little bit lighter, so if that's a huge thing to you, consider getting the Air. But keep in mind, the Slammer has this heavy gyro, which is going to add that 0.4 pounds that you saw, all those extra brake cables and this plate stuff up here. This Slammer is a slightly better bike just because of the lower price. Now that, again, that is only on the sale price. If you look at it at full price, it's not going to be any better than the GT Air. I'd say they're about the same. And then at that point, I guess just pick based on color. But for the sake of the video, the GT Slammer wins, and it is going to move along and face either the Verde AV or the Kink Curb. Crazy. Okay, so let's go over the next video is going to be the Verde AV or the Kink Curb. So let's figure out which one goes off to face the GT Slammer. Alright, so the Verde AV and the Kink Curb. I am a huge Kink fan. I got accused of being paid by Kink, which is crazy. I wish Kink was paying me, but they're not. I'm a huge Kink fan, and I love the way that the Curb looks. It has good color options, but I also am slowly becoming a pretty big Verde fan. I'm impressed with this Verde AV, and I know they have a handful of other bikes that are very nice. So looks, they look pretty good. You know, compare them side by side, can't tell too much of a difference. They are solid bikes. Okay, I don't have anything funny to say about either of them, so that's kind of sad. But let's talk about the stuff that matters. The price of the Verde is going to be about $30 more than the Kink Curb. The Kink Curb is only $369, but the Verde AV weighs 24.5, which is a lot less than the Kink Curb, which weighs 27. They both only have one size option, but the Kink Curb comes in 4 different color options, while the Verde AV only comes in 3. Both of these bikes are core BMX brands. They do a lot for the sport, and I'm pretty hyped on that. They do so much for the sport. And neither of these bikes have a specific utility. They're not designed for street, park, or dirt. They're just basic bikes that you can kind of upgrade as you go or make more specific when you want to learn different things. Currently, it's 1-to-1. The Verde has 1 point because it weighs 24.5, but the Kink Curb also has 1 point because it comes in 4 different color options. So when we get into the quality, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Barely. Both these bikes, high tensile steel frame, forks, and bars. This is lower quality. You're going to want to have some chromoly if you're an adult rider getting a bike. If you're a new rider, you're small guy, Christmas bike, this is cool. Okay, this is fine. The high tensile steel single wall rims are not going to affect you. But again, if you're an adult, like, quit watching right now. Go watch the $500 to $600 comparison video and not this one. Now the Kink Curb has 1 aftermarket part, and that's it. Just 1 part, while the Verde AV has 0. So the Kink Curb is going to get an extra point here. But quality wise, the Verde has a 1.8 quality score, while the Kink Curb has a 1.2. And the value factor of the Verde is 4.88. The Kink Curb, it's only 3.25. So that just added on 2 additional points to the Verde. And yeah, it deserves this quality score. It is a little bit better when you look at different things like sealed bearings and things like that. It's slightly better. It's not a whole lot better, but it is better. And the value factor reflects that. So the Verde AV is lighter, has better quality, and it has a higher value factor. While the Kink Curb has more aftermarket parts, it's cheaper, and it has more color options. That wasn't enough to beat the Verde. So the Verde is going to be moving on against the GT Slammer, and we're going to see which one of these 2 moves on to the finals. But next, we need to talk about the Jet Block and the DK Cygnus. All right, so the Jet Block and the DK Cygnus, right off the bat, the Jet Block, I think I talked bad about it earlier, just how it looks. Maybe the purple version. I don't think I'm a fan of the purple version, but I do like this version. I love the white and blue on the bike. The DK Cygnus looks pretty basic, the brown, but it looks clean. It's a clean bike. I really like the chrome hubs on the DK, but none of that really matters. Let's just talk about the stuff that matters. The price of the Jet Block is $299 all the way up to $349, and like I mentioned, the DK Cygnus is $399 up to $499. It's currently on sale for $399. It probably shouldn't be in this tournament, but oh well, it is, okay? It made it interesting. It is. The Jet Block weighs a little bit less than the DK Cygnus. It weighs 25.4 pounds, while the DK Cygnus weighs 26.4. So the Jet Block wins a point there. Both these bikes only come in one size option. But the Jet Block comes in 10 different color options, which is crazy, but good for Jet, good for them. Lots of options. Options are power. You guys should be able to choose a bike that you love. The DK Cygnus is a core BMX brand. They do a lot for the sport. They do so much to help out riders, put on events, while Jet just sucks money from it. So just like the Jet Block versus the Colt Access, consider that when you're buying these two bikes, like maybe you should buy the DK because they do more for the sport, not necessarily the Jet, but make your own decisions. Neither of these bikes are specific for any type of riding. They're not park, dirt, or street specific. They're just basic bikes. Now, currently this worries me. The Jet Block has 2 points because it's lighter and it has more color options, but the DK has 1 point because it's a core BMX brand. And how embarrassing would it be if this $299 Jet Block beats this $400 DK Cygnus? That would be crazy. Let's talk about the quality. And right off the bat, we can see more trophies for the DK because the DK is tri-moly frame. Okay, that front triangle is chromoly. It's going to withstand a lot better than the high tensile steel Jet Block. The forks have high tensile steel legs on the DK Cygnus, but the steer tube is chromoly, while the Jet Block is only high tensile steel forks all the way around. So the Cygnus's forks are going to withstand riding, big jumps, big gaps, disasters, things like that a little bit better, but the fork legs are still going to bend. So it's not a huge win, but it is a win. The bar quality of the DK is full chromoly, while the bar quality of the Jet is high tensile steel. Not very good, so the DK got another point there. Now the rim quality is that both these bikes have single wall rims. Very sad, we're not going to see a double wall rim bike here in this comparison, but nobody gets a point there. Now, quality-wise, the Jet Block only scored a 1.2 in quality, while the DK Cygnus scored a 3.4. DK Cygnus is a much higher quality bike, and it deserves to win against the Jet Block. And same thing for the value factor. The DK is an 8.52 value factor, while the Jet Block is only a 3.43. Again, if you guys want to learn more about these value factors, check out the Dougsterbob score sheet so that you can compare any bike you want and check out all their value factors. But so right there, right off that is 5 more points for the DK. There's no way that the Jet's 2 points can even compare to that. So the Jet Block lost. Even though it has more color options, it's lighter and it's cheaper, that is not enough to beat the DK being a core BMX brand, having better quality frame, forks, and bars, and having a better value factor. The DK absolutely deserved this win, and now the Jet Block is going to go sit next to the Kink curb in that ever-growing loser circle. There are a lot of bikes over there now. The DK Cygnus is moving on to the finals, and it's either going to face off the GT Slammer or the Verde AV. Which one do you guys think it'll be? We're going to find out. Let's find out. All right, GT Slammer, my old friend with the cranks going down. It's good to see you again. The Verde AV, look, just side by side, you can tell. See, and that's what I'm talking about. When I call bikes dinky, it's nothing like, I don't know, I guess it is derogatory to the bike, but it's just like you can tell this is a dinky looking bike compared to this one. This just looks clean. It's like Back in my day, we'd look at bikes with big sprockets, and those were not BMX bikes. If they had a big sprocket, not a BMX bike. Now, they're evolving, right? You know, Walmart bikes have small sprockets, so you can't just say, that's not a BMX bike. They all look the same, but they have some dinky characteristics. But anyway, the GT Slammer is $331 to $389. The Verde AV is $399, right at the top of this price range. So I understand if you guys can't quite afford it. It is towards the top of this $400 bracket, $400 price range. The Slammer weighs 26.5 pounds, but the Verde is a lot lighter. It only weighs 24.5. And they both only come in one size option. The GT Slammer comes with 4 different color options, and the Verde AV only comes with 3. They're both technically core BMX brands, and neither of these bikes have any special utility. Neither one's for park, street, or dirt. Like I mentioned with the Slammer, even though it has this gyro, does not mean it's park specific. Not going to give it any park specific points. I'm just not. Currently it's tied. Slammer has 4 color options. The Verde is a lot lighter. So 1-to-1. When we go on and look at the quality though, not much has changed. You know, they're still high tensile steel frame, forks, and bars. And I'm a little sad that the Verde's like this low of quality. I mean, it's better than the Slammer, right? But it should have maybe one chromoly piece of tubing, maybe one chromoly handlebar, like maybe the bars are chromoly. I don't know. Anyway, frame, forks, and bars, high tensile steel for both of these bikes. You guys know why high tensile steel is less important. We want chromoly, but you know, we didn't get it, so we just got to move on, okay? We're moving on. They're both single wall rims. We want double wall rims, but we're not going to get it, so we're just going to move on. The aftermarket parts, neither of these bikes have aftermarket parts, but the Verde AV scored a 1.8 in the quality because it is a little bit better in quality. You can see why on the Dougsterbob score sheet. It also scored a 4.88 for the value factor. This beats the GT's 3.02 and means the Verde is a much better bike. So the Verde just scored 2 points right there, and it is moving on into the finals against the DK. The GT Slammer has more color options and it's a little bit cheaper, but the Verde AV is lighter, higher quality, and it has a better value factor. So it obviously deserves to win, and it doesn't look dinky. So good job, Verde. Moving on into the finals. I don't know why I'm like actually hyped. Like when I was creating this video, this slideshow, I'm like, I just want to be able to have fun comparing the two, and I'm having fun doing that. So I hope you guys are having fun. As I'm going through it, I'm like, this is repetitive. Like you guys could probably know right off the bat which bikes are going to win, but I'm having fun. So if you hate it, like quit watching, go do something else. I'm having fun. That's all that matters. The DK Cygnus and the Verde AV are going to face off in the next video. The GT Slammer goes and sits next to the Jet block in the loser circle, which is very big. We've got the Jet Generate. Wow, look at that. The Jet Generate was the first bike out, and the Jet block was one of the last bikes. So we got the Jet Generate, the Haro Luecedia, the Free Agent Novus, the Subrosa Altus, the Colt Access, the Redline Rival, the GT Air, the Kink Curb, the Jet block, and now the GT Slammer. That was crazy. So let's check in. Let's watch the final. Let's see who beats or who wins. Is it going to be the DK Cygnus or is it going to be the Verde AV? All right, now we made it this far. We're going to figure out which bike is the best. You guys have watched this whole thing, so is the DK Cygnus actually the best, or is the Verde going to beat it? And I think we know the answer, but we've got to get into it. Let's take a look, okay? Verde always killing it. This picture looks solid, way better than DK's picture. We used some different colors because you guys were getting bored of the old colors. Look at these colors. I don't know. I like the other colors we use. This one on the DK looks pretty sick. The DK Cygnus is $399 or $499. Right now it's on sale for $399. The Verde is $399, so that puts them pretty close together. The Verde weighs 24.5 pounds, while the DK Cygnus weighs 26.4. The Verde's lighter. Weight is very important for controlling your bike. It's a lot easier to do certain tricks with a lighter bike. They both only come in one size option. They both come in 3 different color options. They're both core BMX brands, and neither of them are specific for park, street, or dirt. So, the only one to score a point there is the Verde, and it has 1 point because it's lighter. The DK, 0. Let's look at the quality though, and as you guys know, this is where it gets crazy because the DK is just better quality. The frame, better quality tri-moly. That front triangle has the chromoly. It's going to be a lot stronger than the Verde AV. The forks have a little bit of chromoly. It's going to be a little bit stronger than the Verde AV. So there's 2 points. The bars on the DK are full chromoly. It's going to be a lot stronger than the Verde AV. There's 3 points. They're both single wall rims. Neither of them have aftermarket parts, but the DK scored a 3.4 for the quality section, while the Verde AV only scored a 1.8. And the Verde has a 4.88 value factor, but the DK doubles that with an 8.52. So the DK is a much better quality bike, much better value if you get it for that $399 price. And let's figure out, I don't know, I should just go with the video, but hold on. Let's figure out if it was $499, okay? Okay, you guys can't see this, but if the DK was $499 instead of $399, the value score would be a 6.8, which is still higher than the Verde AV. So even if it's not at that sale price, puts it in a different bracket, but still the value score is going to be a lot higher. So the DK Cygnus moved on, better quality frame, forks, and bars, better value factor. The Verde's lighter, and that's about it. We got a winner, guys. We got a winner. The DK Cygnus is the winner. It beat the Verde AV, and we've got a long list of losers here who we don't want to recognize anymore. The DK won. Look at this DK. Very nice looking bike. Look at its trophy. This is the trophy that it won. Congratulations, DK. Very good. I had a lot of fun comparing these. And so here's the deal. For under $400, if you get the DK on sale, it's going to be the best bike you can buy. I compared every single bike that I could find under $400, and the DK Cygnus is the best. So if you have a budget of $400, pick up this bike and you won't regret it. Now, if you only have a budget of, if the DK is not on sale, go with the Verde AV, obviously. But I was very impressed with this, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So next, you guys need to check out the $500 to $600 bracket. Things get really intense in there because there's 16 bikes instead of 12, and some bikes are park specific. Dirt, there's a lot more close match. This one was honestly a little boring for me. I hope it wasn't boring for you, but it was boring for me because the $500 to $600 one is so much better. So you guys are really going to enjoy that. Go check that out. Okay, bonus. These two bikes did not end up going head to head in the $400 bracket. Okay, these bikes were on opposite ends. Neither of them moved along very far to get compared, but I feel like this is one people are wondering about. They're like, should I get the Cold Access or should I get the Kink Curb? And we'll just compare them side by side and we'll see which one's better. Okay, so let's get right into the video. Okay, so the Colt Access cost $359 while the Kink Curb cost $369. The Curb is going to be slightly more expensive, but Kink at least listed the weight. The Curb weighs 27 pounds, Colt didn't list it. And I think it's really important for you guys to know how much the bike that you're buying weighs. I think that plays a big role, right? Your weight is important. So Colt didn't list it. Kink's going to get a point because I'm kind of angry at Colt, and I'm only angry because they didn't list that. If they would have, cool, we'd know which one's lighter. Now in 2021, the Access only weighed around 25 pounds, but we can't count that because we don't know. Maybe they put lead in the bottom bracket to make it weigh more. I don't know. They both have one size option, but the Curb comes in 4 different color options while the Access only comes in 2. So there's 2 points for the Kink. They're both core BMX brands. Kink does a ton for the sport, and so does Colt. Colt does so much for BMX, and neither of these are specific for park, street, or dirt, so nobody got any points there. Currently, the Curb has 2 points and the Access has 0. The Curb is a lot lighter, we're going to assume, and it also has 4 color options. When we take a look at quality, we don't see too much here. They're both high tensile steel. This is a lot weaker than chromoly. If you are a small kid getting your first bike for Christmas, getting the cold access or the kink curb, either one, it's not going to be a big deal. But if you're my size, you're going to break this bike. High tensile steel is not built for people over 180 pounds, and it's just not very good. So if you're over 180 pounds, don't consider either of these and carry on. If you're younger, you're smaller, these will be fine even though they're high tensile steel. But since they're both high tensile steel, they both have single wall rims. Nobody got any points there. They both have one aftermarket part, but the kink curb is slightly better quality and slightly better value factor. The quality of the kink curb is 1.2, while the cold access is only a 1. Now, sealed bearings play a role, aftermarket parts play a role, like Mission parts are weighted differently than kink parts and then Colt parts, and so there's a lot that goes into that score. But the kink curb is just slightly better. Like, it's honestly, it's not enough that you would notice a difference, but with the value factor, it makes the kink curb win. Okay, and you know, it would have won anyway because of the weight and the color options, so it's still like, it would have won, but now because of the value factor, it really won. Okay, so obviously the kink curb won because kink supplies the weight. It has a better value factor, it has more color options, and it has a semi-sealed cassette. The Colt Access has a fully loose ball cassette, so that's no good. And it's cheaper, that's good. And it has an integrated headset. The Kink headset is pressed in there, but you know, the Cold Access, that wasn't enough for the Cold Access to win. So the Kink curb is going to be the winner. And if you're looking at these two bikes, personally, I think the Kink is the better option because of what you just witnessed here. So let me know in the comments which bikes I should review next, and I'll get to work on that. I'll shout you out in the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to buy either of these bikes, the link is in the description. Have a good rest of your day.